this is literally what we're waiting on, folks. In some cases, the photo reports that get sent in, depending on the extent of the damage, is a little bit more entailed.
Mortgage company endorsements, getting the check signed, having to take the check to your client so that you can get a check returned, and having to go there and back 2 or 3 times just so you can get paid, or having to wait in the office to get your fee mailed to you so that you can mail it back, or having to deal with the mortgage company in general. The Claims Game podcast today is with a special guest, Rayn Holliday of iink. These guys have been able to put together an amazing service so that we could get expedited our checks, get them signed, and get our fees directly deposited into our account. So whether you're a public adjuster, a contractor, a roofer, mitigation, whatever it is, if you're not using this service, chances are you're taking twice as long to get paid. So check out this amazing interview with Rayn. He really delves deep. We even share our screen. So if you're listening to this in the car, make sure you try to find the time when we actually go onto a screen, shared screen of exactly how this process works, how you upload the check, and how simple it is to just upload it and basically wait for your money. So check out this podcast with my good friend Rayn Holliday of iink. Check it out.
Welcome to the Claims Game podcast with Perri. Get all the tips you need from insurance claim advocates and professionals, and grow your public adjusting career to the next level. And now the commercial claims advocate, Perri.
Okay, we are here back for another episode of the Claims Game podcast. Listen up, advocates. Whether you're a public adjuster, contractor, or an attorney, if you have a client that has suffered any kind of catastrophic loss, whether that be by fire or storm or just any catastrophic loss that requires your client to have to move out and incur ALE and loss of use coverage, you need to think about looking at Black Diamond Services. This is an incredible idea for a service that I think is extremely valuable, and I've actually personally used for my clients myself. Basically, what they do is they provide all of the necessary money that is needed to be done for the homeowner to go and move to another place, whether that be a hotel or another home or whatever it is. They basically bill through their insurance policy's loss of use coverage, and basically they provide financial assistance so that the insured never has to incur any out-of-pocket expenses. It's an amazing service. I love the people at Black Diamond Services, especially Millie Varela. If you just contact her and contact Black Diamond Services, I'm telling you, they're going to take care of your clients like you wouldn't believe. I personally have a client who suffered a fire damage and had to use their ALE coverage, and all we did was refer them to Black Diamond. Our clients did not have to come out of pocket a single penny. Black Diamond provided all of the financial money, and they provided the actual location for the homeowner to stay. Amazing service. Contact Black Diamond Services today so you could find out more information for yourself. And I am very, very excited to have this very, very special guest. Rayn, you didn't know, but I already made an intro for you. But to let the people know why I'm so excited is because I'm with Rayn Holliday, who is the owner and CEO of iink Payments. And iink Payments, for all of you public adjusters, for all of you contractors, for all of you people who deal in the insurance restoration business and are having any kind of trouble, because I know you all are, with getting those checks endorsed, dealing with the mortgage company, and ultimately getting paid on your insurance claims, this could be the answer to all of your problems. So Rayn, first of all, thank you for joining us. And if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself and about your amazing company.
Sure, Vince. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to speak to some of your viewers and listeners, and have heard nothing but great things about your PA firm. And so thank you so much for taking the time with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That's very nice of you. Thank you.
So I'm Rayn Holliday. I'm actually the now president and co-founder of iink Payments. We've brought on a new CEO, Tom McGrath, and Tom has some extensive experience leading companies on the enterprise side. So as iink has been growing and starting to work more with banks and insurance companies directly, Tom is leading that charge and helping us out tremendously. So we're excited to have him in that role. But for me, I have a background in roofing restoration. I'm very familiar with the claims process and how challenging it can be sometimes, particularly when that claim is approved, believe it or not, when that check is issued and there's, 3, 4, 5, we've seen checks with as many as 7 payees on it, if you can believe it or not. But, coming from the restoration industry, I'm happy to have this role as president of the company where I can still dig deep on this side of the fence and understand the challenges that we're all trying to overcome. And for us, it's that paper check, right? We just want to get rid of that paper check.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is working the insurance claim is hard enough.
Yeah.
To work just to get the payment, just to convince basically, which shouldn't take that much convincing, but unfortunately it's the world that we live in, just to get the insurance company to pay the freaking claim. Then all of a sudden you finally settle the claim. You finally negotiated, you hit a home run. You're excited. Your client's excited. Everybody's happy. And then you get this check and you're just like, now what? Yeah. And you've got 6 payees on it. You've got the mortgage company on it. You've got to basically jump through hoops just so you can get paid. And what you guys have created here is pretty unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And our team does as well. I think that, we just wanted to solve the problem, right? And it's 2022. Why are we still dealing with a paper payment? Everything else is digital these days. Why aren't we? And so, we're excited to bring together this industry in a way that it's never been brought together before on one platform to communicate over the one thing that everybody talks about the most, which is the money. And, here we are. I'm happy to say that this year I can't say who, but we do have 2 carriers that have told us they'd like to beta test a digital property claim payment through our payment rails as soon as the claim is approved. And so hopefully we can get this, weeks or months long process down to 24 to 48 hours.
So I want to get right to the point about what this service actually does. For those of you that don't know, who haven't noticed a little change in our podcast, we're trying to get into value right from the beginning of the podcast. And what I want people to know is basically with Ink Payments, what you're able to do. And I only know this because I use it myself. So I'm a huge advocate for what you guys are doing. What you basically do is you receive the payment in the mail. You receive the insurance payment. It's got let's just make it simple. It's got the insured's name and it's got, let's say, the public adjusting firm's name. All I have to do is take a photo of the front, take a photo of the back, put the Ink Pay endorsement, which, by the way, do you guys have a stamp?
We do. It should be in the mail to you.
Okay, cool.
If you haven't gotten it already.
You take a photo of the front, you take a photo of the back. And by the way, Ryan, if you could allow me, I still want to get into the history a little bit, but if you're going to allow me, I'm going to share my screen. By the way, guys, for anybody who's watching on YouTube, I am going to share my screen and I'm going to run through it real fast. But take a picture of the front, take a picture of the back. You put in the amount, you put in the claim number, you upload the estimate if you have it, which obviously it's preferable if you have the adjuster's worksheet. Then I love my favorite part is when you go to the payees on the bottom, since my information is already there, it's already automatically there. I type in 20% or 15% or whatever it is, and it automatically multiplies it. Then I add the insured's information, which if you guys have a decent system, you should have their name, their phone number, their email address. I submit this thing. Within an hour, I receive an email telling me, hey, we've got your check. Please endorse it. I open up this email, I open up this thing, and I sign it with my finger and I click submit. They're like, okay, good to go. Now it's on its way to the insured. Let the insured know, that's the only issue I think I'm having right now, Ryan, is just getting the clients to sort of up to date on what we're doing. But then the email goes to the insured gets the email, does the same thing I do, endorses it. And here's the best part, guys. What is it? Within a few days, I get an email notification from InkPay telling me your 20%, 1,000, 10,000, whatever has been deposited directly into your bank account. It's like, And then the insured receives a check, right, of their money minus our fee.
Actually, if they're receiving funds back, then all they need to do is log into the web app and provide their banking credentials, and we will send them their portion so that they can get it to their contractor. Or you can also add that contractor to the transaction, even if they're not listed on that check. You can add a stakeholder. You can add multiple stakeholders if you want, and direct those funds accordingly. The insured, of course.
I didn't know that.
So you technically you could have, the roofer and the siding guy separate. and their portions going to each one of them. As long as they're verified on the Ink platform, which we now have that process down to less than 24 hours. I know that the onboarding before was a little clunky, but we've improved it tremendously. So you can add as many stakeholders as you like. The insured will, of course, sign off on all of it. And once they do, we will move the funds to your business bank account within 24 to 48 business hours. So it's at the speed of ACH. It's very fast. And if there's no mortgage company on the check, that service is free.
Right. So then we can take you directly to that. So if there's a mortgage company on the check, and I'm going to assume that over the years, and I still want to get to how this all started, but anyway, over the years, I'm assuming that you have built relationships with different banks, with different mortgage companies, correct?
About 150 or so.
So if there is a mortgage company on there, guys, same process, comes to me, I sign it, goes to the insured signs it, and then InkPay sends me a FedEx, what is that called? A FedEx?
FedEx 2-day express, and all you got to do is drop that check into the envelope, slap the label on that we gave to you, and fire it off. And if you don't want to wait for the mortgage company, we have that opportunity for you as well.
And it's not expensive. So if it's without, there's no mortgage company, it's free.
Yep.
If there is a mortgage company, it's 1% up to $150.
Yep. We cap it at $150 per claim. So if you're doing large loss, but you don't want to deal with that back and forth with the mortgage company, no worries. We'll do it for you for $150.
One last thing is I had a check that I sent to you guys with the mortgage company. As soon as it was sent to the mortgage company, and as soon as the mortgage company released it, I received a like an upfront here, like, you know, of like, what was it, like 80% or something like that of my 20%.
Yeah, we do advanced funding. I believe
advanced funding.
There is a holdback involved because it's kind of like a reminder for everyone that the physical check still exists. Even though we have some mortgage companies that are endorsing digitally on our platform, which is great. So we don't even have to send the check off to those companies anymore. And there are more coming along with us on that ride. But for now, as long as that physical check still needs to be sent to the mortgage company, we can advance the funds to you. It's only 1.95%. And as soon as that FedEx label is scanned, it queues our system and we move the funds to your account within 24 to 48 business hours. We handle everything with the mortgage company. And then when the check comes back, we just need the picture of the back of it with that mortgage endorsement on it for it to be fully deposited. But you don't have to wait for them, at least for the most part, right? And then, of course, you receive your remainder of your holdback once that check is redeposited in this system.
Oh, my goodness. It's amazing. So awesome. So how long does it take you guys? How long is it taking you guys to put this together? Because it seems to run very smoothly. I could only assume it's only going to get better, but how long does it take you just to get to this point?
So our other original co-founder, we have 4 co-founders, but Ken Lawler and Ken's a public adjuster. I used to work with him in Northeast Florida on difficult claims. And, we had just kind of shared the loathe over chasing the money. And got together one day. It was September 11th, 2016. It was a Sunday. We were watching a football game at the Ale House. Like all great ideas start over a beer, right? And Ken turned to me and said, "How much money do you have held up for completed jobs right now?" I think it was like $75,000 or $80,000 of money at the mortgage company for jobs that we had completed, just waiting for it to come back. And then I think he had something close to $50,000 in his own fees held up at the mortgage companies, not just, total dollar amount. And so he said,
for those of you, I'm holding up checks, literally just like holding on to some of these checks.
Yeah. It's crazy. And so, and if you think that's nuts, you should see the packages that they have at the mortgage companies. We've seen them. I've seen packages that are, an inch thick, 2 years old I'm like, what's going on with this property? Is it even being repaired? But back to, just having that beer and deciding that we could come up with a better way to facilitate this payment process electronically. And with our end goal being, we have to eliminate the check. It's taken us a little while, but here we are today. And like I said, this year going to be beta testing digital payments straight from the carrier within 24 hours of the claim being approved. And so we're very excited to do that. But the reason we built the platform to accommodate the paper check is because we knew the enterprise level adoption wouldn't happen overnight. So some people ask, I think our current biggest challenge is understanding that this is an adoption or it's a transformation from what's been a decades long process of using a paper check to a digital payment. So there's going to be some, learning curve, right? And there's going to be some, understanding of how long does that check still live, and what do I really need to do with it? Does it still have to be? Do I still have to get it after it comes out of the mortgage company? The answer is yes, but we're working through that, and we will be to a point one day where there will be no more paper. It'll just be a digital payment straight through the rails.
How long have you guys been actively? Because we're past beta. How long has this been actively going? Because when did I hear about you guys? I want to say it wasn't that long ago. I mean, maybe 6 months ago, around 6 months ago. I remember it was actually somebody in our course was telling us about it. Somebody brought it up, and then somebody else brought it up a couple months later, and then somebody else brought it up. And then finally, when people in my inner circle started saying, dude, you need to use this, that's when I reached out to you.
Yep. Yeah, well, we really appreciate everyone who's been along on the ride with us over the last year, especially. We launched service, believe it or not, back in 2017.
Oh, wow.
And it was very simple. It was just providing the back and forth as kind of like a TPA for the correspondence with the mortgage company, and getting that off of contractors and PAs and attorneys' plates. Why are you guys sitting on hold with Bank of America for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever when we can be doing it for you? So that's what we did until we worked through our banking integration, which took quite a while. It's not easy integrating with the bank and, building off of old rails that are going through FIS to the Federal Reserve, but we did it. We also have an integration that we built out with Equifax. We have a partnership with Visa. So we've done a lot of work on the fintech and the banking side. It wasn't an easy journey, but I can see the acceleration now is absolutely tremendous. We went from, I remember back when we had, 4 customers total, and now we're, probably onboarding more than that a day in some cases. And, it's just really exciting. I think with this year, especially 2022, coming out of what's seemingly coming out of COVID and everything kind of getting back to normal there, we're starting to see some pretty tremendous growth, and the enterprise side of the fences are coming along with us. So they're excited for the solve as well.
No, I see next level stuff for you guys in the next 2 years or so, for sure. I definitely see it. So I got some questions. What do you do? So I thought I was going to run into an issue. What do you do if the mortgage company's not listed on there?
So if there's no mortgage company on the check, then... No. If there's no mortgage company on the drop-down menu that you have when you have to list the mortgage company. Good question. So we have... you can select other. There is an other option, and then we will make contact with that bank and get them onboarded to the platform. If there's any documentation we need to get loaded in, we'll do that. It may take a little bit longer for us to get that check through, but and we always recommend to everybody, hey, if this is a local bank and you're able to go down there, if this is not a company that's in our system already, maybe take the trip. And I'm always advocating for the fastest access to those funds, the fastest path to the repairs for the insured, right? But we'll get them loaded into the system nonetheless.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned after I sign it and then the insured signs it, let's say there's no mortgage company, I get my funds direct deposited. Is the only option for the insured to put their bank information and get direct deposit, or can they request like a cashier's check or something?
Right now it's deposit to their bank account, but in the future we'll have an option where they can select a check. Because
I did have a client who's just like, I'm not giving my bank account information.
Yeah, it's, unfortunately, we're going to run across that regardless of how secure the technology is that we have in our platform. And, it's obviously secure at a banking level. We're even furthering that with our integration with Plaid and, considering some even more automated ways for our customers and all of our users to be to be put through the KYC process. So everything is super secure, but still folks have been through or, a traumatic experience, or perhaps had their identity stolen. Something happened bad online. They had money taken out of their account. I totally understand. We can't.
Or they're just old.
They may not be on the up and up with the tech. We can help them as far as we can, but if they're defiant, then unfortunately right now it's we can't send them a check, but we will be able to do that in the future.
So it's secured on a banking level.
100%.
All right, that's a good pitch.
Well, yeah, I think it's an even stronger pitch for all of our professionals on the platform, because everyone who's Inc verified, whether you know it or not, you've been vetted at over 150 data points. And, it's the same level of verification if you were opening a business bank account. We check it all. And once you're Inc verified, you can tell your customers or your prospective customers, look, I'm an Inc verified public adjuster, or I'm an Inc verified contractor. And what that means for you is that when your claim is approved, even if your insurance company still issues you a paper check, I'm going to have the fastest access to those funds so that you can get your repairs done as quickly as possible. And if you're working or potentially thinking about working with another contractor that's not Inc verified, you could be waiting weeks or possibly months to get into their production schedule because of the administration of that check. And so here you can feel a little bit more secure transacting digitally on an FDIC insured platform, whereas you may be just handing your check over to some roofer that you just met. So with me, you don't have that worry. And so I feel like the Inc verified or becoming Inc verified is quite valuable.
So we should get any of our referral partners and stuff, different roofing contractors, we should get them Inc verified as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's free to be a part of the platform. It's free to get Inc verified. We are going to develop that further in the future, where we kind of see a landing page, an Inc Pay landing page that'll have a link back to your verification. And if someone wants to download a copy of your license or your insurance credentials, whatever they need to see that you're a validated restoration professional on our platform, they'll be able to do that.
Fantastic. All right, I'm still going to eventually share my screen and take you sort of how it's done. But before I get into that, I would like to get into the mortgage process, the mortgage company process. Sure. Obviously, we're talking mostly about if the mortgage company is not on there. I mean, my only question is how? How are you able to? And again, I know you have partnerships, so I'm sure you're going to get into that. But how is it that you're able to jump through these hoops with the mortgage company that? I mean, I think I could speak at least to a lot of other public adjusters that it's just a real pain where, I mean, it's just one today. This is a personal check. It's just one today, but that's because I finally deposited about 6 of them over the last week or so that I'm holding on to because I tell the client, look, do what you got to do. I'll hold on to it until, and there's no point in me depositing a bounce check. So I can't really deposit this until you have the money in your account anyway. And you know how it is. You've been there. I got to wait weeks. I got to wait months sometimes. And it's a real pain. So explain to me how sort of that began and how you're able to really sort of work hand in hand with the mortgage company. Sure.
So I actually had a little bit of a background in third-party loss mitigation. And back after the crash of 2008, I was working for a mortgage bank that unfortunately was no longer originating loans, and we had to do something else to stay relevant within the industry. So we started helping folks out of foreclosure. And in that experience, we realized very quickly that if we were dealing with the same level 1 customer service representatives that everyone else was, we wouldn't have a business and they wouldn't have a home. So we fought our way to the top of, most of the majors. I had direct access to, executive offices at Wells Fargo, Chase. And so I think that learning experience as we came into as I came into the insurance restoration industry and understanding the servicing company's involvement with these checks, I knew that there had to be handholding even with them because they're going to fumble it, right? And so over the years, we have tracked all of them, thousands and thousands of transactions back and forth with these companies. Like I said before, we have their documents loaded into our system. So when the claim is open, so to speak, with whoever is servicing that loan, the insured doesn't have to wait a week for the documents to come out. And then fill them out and send them back with the check. We have them already preloaded in our system. And now we're actually in discussions with 3 out of the 4 major servicing companies that handle these procedures for the mortgage companies. So there's there's only 4. So I'm even though I don't want to say their names, I'm sure you can figure it out. But it encompasses probably 70 to 80% or more of the volume on the mortgage side of the fence. So once we have the integrations directly with those entities, then if you could imagine, 80 to 90% of the mortgage companies that are out there would be capable of digitally endorsing the check on our platform, so that we no longer have to send it off to them. But I think, more importantly, we understood that this was not a one-sided solution. There are, 4 legs to this table, and the mortgage companies, what they need, and understandably, they're looking out for their asset. They're, abiding by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the GSE guidelines as to how they should be servicing these loans and how they need to be handling these claim checks. And at a certain threshold, it becomes riskier for them, and so they need to have a little bit more of a handle on it. So we understood that, and we have stayed aligned with that over the years, which helps us push things when it goes awry at the mortgage company, because in some cases we're almost telling them, no, this is outside of the traditional guidelines. Put me on with your manager. Being able to do that day in and day out is not something that any, roofer, restoration professional, PA, whoever it is, should be worried about. Everyone in this industry should be focused on their craft, not this, back and forth management of claim checks with the mortgage companies and all the guidelines that they have to adhere to. So knowing that balance between all stakeholders was key to putting this all together, for sure.
And it's funny you mentioned around 2016, 2017, when all of this started, because I remember when I first started, my first year, it wasn't a requirement to have the mortgage company on the check. And then after like year 2, year 3, all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, did you know they have to put the mortgage company on the check now? And we're like, okay. And then we didn't realize how much of a headache this was. And even to this day, fast forward now, 13 years or so, how do you get around, or do you not get around, the guidelines, the policies and procedures that they have in place? That when my client calls their mortgage company, they get some person who's sitting in a cubicle just going by these guidelines of, well, step 1, ma'am, you have to send the check over to us. Step 2, we'll send you the documentation that you need to fill out. Step 3, once we receive the documentation, we will release it. We'll review the documentation. Step 4, once we review the documentation, we'll just release a third. Step 5, please send us proof of repairs. Or starting of repairs, then we'll release the second third. Step 6 or 7, wherever the hell I'm at, let us know when everything's been completed so that we can send somebody out to inspect the property before we release the final third. Yeah. I mean, that is just, it's a nightmare.
That's everybody's favorite, isn't it? The monitoring claims. I mean, it's it's a real shit show, but
there it is. You were the first one. You cursed before I did.
I had to be first. But it's only because we're talking about monitored claims.
That makes you want to curse.
Well, yeah, and so maybe that is a very mild relay of frustration from our colleagues, right? And so
it's bullshit.
Yeah, no, 100%. But again, we understand why the mortgage companies want to do that. If you remember back after Hurricane Katrina in 04 and 05, we had a slew of storms through the Southeast. Everyone remembers Katrina. And, when you have that many storms and then you're about to go into a recession or into a housing crisis.
Yep.
And people are getting total loss checks for $150,000, $225,000 with their name on it and their spouse's name on it, and nobody else looking at their destroyed home and that they couldn't afford anyway. What do you think they're going to do? Yep. They took off with the money. And so I think that was really the catalyst for a lot of those regulations to start happening from the
that makes sense
levels. Yeah.
I never really put those two things together. I mean, I knew the reason why, people taking the money and run. I get it, but I didn't really put those things together. You've got all those hurricanes in 04 and 05 and then the Great Recession in 08. That makes perfect sense, because I think I became a public adjuster in 09, and by 2010, It was there. Like every single freaking check had the mortgage company on it.
Yeah. And so whenever you get a loan or you refinance, your mortgage documents have a clause that state that they have to be included on any loss checks coming from your carrier. It's in your mortgagee clause in your policy.
Yep.
So, and I would, to that point, I would advise everybody that whenever you have a claim that you're representing and insured with, just ask them to double check who the mortgage company is on their policy. There's a lot of folks that have refinanced over the last couple of years. They're taking advantage of the rates. But the one thing I can assure you they're not thinking about is, hey, I better call my agent to update the mortgage company on my policy. So that way, if I have a loss to my home, they're not going to issue a check that needs to be reissued. Now, we all know the frustrations there, right? But we'll get there where the check doesn't exist and we can fix that digitally. But until we get there, I implore everybody, it'll save you a lot of hassle. Just to ask your insured, or if you have a copy of their policy, look at it for them. Say, hey, is this your mortgage company? And if it's not, tell them just call your agent, get this settled before we get your claim settled, or else we're going to get the runaround with that check.
We have it on our LOR now. Like they have to write in on our LOR and their loan number on the actual contract with us. Yep.
And so we check that as well with our Equifax integration. We do a soft pull, which is great. It doesn't show up or ding the insured's credit. They don't even see it, but it's just a way for us to verify mortgage details so that we can understand how that claim is going to be monitored or not monitored with the mortgage company ahead of time, as opposed to sending everything off to them. And then it comes back 3 weeks later. Oh, we need this check fully signed and yada, yada, yada.
So give me the behind the scenes, Ryan. So I endorse the check. The client endorses the check. I get the FedEx printout. I send the FedEx check to the mortgage company. I get the advanced funding or whatever. What's going on behind the scenes? Is Ryan calling like Joe from Bank of America saying, "Come on, man, let's go. Let's get this thing endorsed and send it back." What's going on?
Not since 2017 have I been the one calling the mortgage company, but we have a fantastic team and it's growing tremendously. I think we're right around 20 full-time employees now, whereas last year, anyone who was on this journey with us a year ago knows that it was, I think, 4 of us at the time. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've got, a lender support department. We have obviously customer success, sales, marketing. But in regards to the transactions, we verify that the mortgage company has received everything they need pretty much within 72 hours or so of everything being submitted. That way, nothing slips through the cracks and, they're not finding out, or we're not finding out 3 weeks later that they need something else. So we identify right away that everything's there. We find out when's the check going to be sent back. We confirm it on a weekly basis with them. So we just stay on top of them on the phone, believe it or not.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil usually. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will also say this, that as much as we stay on top of them, there are some that are still just terrible. I won't name any names, but I was reviewing a file yesterday and going back through the notes, and it was quite frustrating because even our team was escalating to management and getting different answers on almost every single call. And what one of the most frustrating ones for me has always been where you are, 45 days into corresponding with the mortgage company. You've already been on the phone with them 8 times. And then they tell me, I can't talk to you because we don't have an authorization for you.
So do you do that? Is that part of the process? Do you get the authorization?
Yeah. So after when the check is uploaded to the platform and you click submit, we review everything, obviously, and then we send out a request direct to the insured where they will provide us authorization to speak with their mortgage company. They give us a couple mortgage details, just like they do on your LOR, and sign off on the terms of service, and we're good to go. And
they have one too.
Yeah, and they obviously see everything of where the money's going. They see a picture of the check and who's getting what. So
we have one too. Every once in a while, if the mortgage company is giving the client crap, either we just take care of over the phone verbally, or I have them sign a document that allows us to speak with them.
Yep.
Okay, but we all know the simplest way, I mean, what I always tell the clients first and foremost is here's the adjuster's worksheet. I think that we all know that's the most important thing. They need the adjuster's worksheet. You guys need the adjuster's worksheet to provide to the mortgage company. But when it's what we were discussing before we got on, when it is a monitored claim, you know, what are you guys doing? I know from my end, from basically having to somewhat do your job for the last 14 years or so in helping out these clients, which by the way, the clients are honestly, you know, when they get put or when they get dragged through the mud, and you know what I'm talking about, when they literally go through that entire, which by the way is actually very rare, because once I step in, because they're just getting, I usually get somewhere. It's like almost talking to the insurance company. But for those that have gotten drugged or dragged through the mud, you know, they don't really bother me too much. They get through it. My thing is I'm always just like, let me talk to them. And I get on the phone with them. I'm just like, this is this is their money. Or I prep them and I make sure whoever it is that you're talking to, that you're not going to do all that crap, that this is your money. You need to get it, and you need to get an inspection out there immediately. I always tell them, get the inspection out there immediately, because no matter what their little policies and procedures or their steps say, once there's an inspection, they release the rest of the check. So I tell them, if you've done the majority of the claims already, of the repairs already, at least more than half, you call them. You get an inspector out there immediately. And if they don't send it out there, call me. I'll talk to them. Yeah, I'm getting very emotional here, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Please. Take a deep breath, Vince. Take a deep breath. Whoosah.
So what do you do when
we're gonna solve that? And you know, again, it goes back to them looking out for their assets, having to have their hand in the cookie jar and understanding what's going on. But believe it or not, you know, in our research, we found that they're not too concerned with the insured running off with the money. They're really more so concerned with a valid contractor doing the work and making sure that the property is being repaired. So that's why they perform completion inspections. The unfortunate part about the process with the completion inspection is they're paying a firm, you know, probably $125 to $175 per inspection. But that ultimately trickles down to someone who's getting $8 to $12 to go out and take a picture on their phone of what's going on. They're not, you know, I don't think a qualified inspector by any means, but you know, what's that?
Have you been to one of those inspections?
I have. Yeah, I've met several inspectors.
It's, you know, one, 2, 3.
Yeah, no, I've heard. Oh, yeah, they just slowed down and took a picture out the car window, and so you know, this is literally what we're waiting on, folks. In some cases, the photo reports that get sent in, depending on the extent of the damage, is a little bit more entailed. But you know, for us, we don't see any issue. And now I think the GSEs, the Fannies and the Freddies of the world don't see issues with having a time-stamped and geotagged photo report supplied, you know, in lieu of sending an inspector out. Because if I can send you the same information to review and it's undeniably taken at this property at this time by this individual, why do you need a third party to go out? Why do we need to waste another 2-3 weeks for you to send someone who's not qualified when I can have the contractor take the photos as soon as he's done with that portion of the work? And so we are working with, technologies like Company Cam and Inspected to hopefully solve that at scale so that we don't have to wait on these third-party inspections, and that the funds can be dispersed much, much faster through, escrow controls that are handled by us, even though maybe we have it sitting in that bank's escrow. That's fine. We'll let you have the money, but let us, queue it out when we say that portion of the job is done, not when some inspector shows up in a little bit.
So I always thought that what the mortgage really wanted to see was not so much a contractor, but that the actual root of the problem has been fixed, that the pipe has been fixed, that damaged cabinet has been repaired or replaced, that part of the flooring, not necessarily all the flooring. Like I always thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they just wanted the root of the problem fixed and that damage is no longer occurring.
They do. If there's a contractor involved on any monitored claim, they're going to do their diligence to make sure that contractor is licensed. But there are cases where the insured can make the repairs, right? And that's certainly fine. If it's a monitored claim and the insured makes the repairs, the mortgage company is, of course, going to do their inspection to ensure that it was done. But, particularly with concerns over COVID these days, there are a lot of folks who just don't want anybody else coming into their home, especially some third-party inspector. And so they have to start looking at alternatives like a geotagged timestamped photo report as a viable alternative to sending out these inspectors. And I think more importantly, from their perspective, you're holding up the process from the repairs continuing. If the contractor needs more money to continue after let's say 50%, you're holding that up. And I remember during COVID, it was longer than 3-4 weeks sometimes trying to get an inspector out to do this. It was sometimes impossible. People were waiting forever, and it's not fair, and it's contradictory to what they're trying to accomplish.
So do you help with when they're doing the whole monitored process and you're doing whatever you can, you're pulling strings and here and there, but you got to get the contract. You do all that?
We will coordinate with the mortgage company on the back end. We'll request inspections with them. We'll, kind of play the middleman so that you, again, don't have to sit on the phone with the mortgage company or argue with them. And, we can, in some cases, preempt, certain points of completion. So that way we're not waiting as long for those inspections. But the good news is our advanced funding option is currently only available on non-monitored claims, which means anything under 40,000 RCV with no delinquency on the property or on that mortgage, we can offer the advanced funding. Our company is about to launch, and I think this is going to be the first time we're publicly announcing this, but we are about to launch advanced funding for any claim, including monitored up to 100,000. And so 100,000 RCV. The only caveat to that is the contractor or whomever is doing the work has to get that work done within 30 days, but we will advance the funds so that you do not have to wait. You don't have to deal with any of the back and forth with the mortgage company, their completion inspections. Get the job done. When it's done, we'll get the inspector out there just to do the final, but you're getting the majority of the funds right now, and you're not hamstrung by their processes. So we're very excited to be launching that here soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What was I going to say? Are you in communication with the insured at all? If you need help with them on getting a contractor on their end? We don't refer a lot of contractors just yet. Of course, not refer. Do you communicate with the mortgage company? Mortgage company says they need X, Y, and Z, and then you go back to the insurance and say, "Hey, look, sure, we could do what we can, but we need this documentation."
No, absolutely, yeah. No, we will communicate with whoever we need to get whatever we need, so that they will move forward with releasing funds or, even in order an inspection, whatever the mortgage company needs, we'll communicate with the contractor, the PA, usually not the PA. They for some reason, they don't like to recognize PAs. I don't know why. If it weren't for you guys, then they wouldn't be getting their property repaired, but they'll get there eventually, I think, with our help. But yeah, we'll communicate with the insured as well. We try to keep it as hands-off as possible for all of our professional clients on the platform, just because we know you guys are busy with what you should be doing to add value to this process and protect your customers and your insureds, right? So we do handle pretty much all the communications.
Now you have an online platform. I could only assume there's going to be an app in the future? The reason we went with the web app is simply because most insureds we felt weren't going to download a native app for a one-off transaction. True. And so, our correspondence now comes right out of the web app, and it's via text and email. So they're clicking a link really quickly, answering a couple questions, and their portion is done. But that was just easier for us to do and launch from a web app perspective. Okay,
in the future, yes, we will be looking into launching a native app as well.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen. You want to take us through the platform real quick?
Sure.
I think it'd be pretty cool. For those of you who are in the car or listen to the podcast form of it, make sure you go back home and fast forward to this section. To this part of the podcast, so you could take a look at it. I'm going to have to probably going to have to black that out. But all right, so I know for me, I'm going to ask you a little bit about, I guess, sort of like the managed users a little bit. But all right, I'll let you take the lead, Ryan.
Okay. And I was going to say too, Vince, if you'd like, I can, if I'm able to share my screen and everybody's able to see it, I can use our demo environment. So there's no real information in there.
Oh, why don't we do that? Let's do
Sure.
that.
And then you don't have to create a file that doesn't exist in your system there.
All right. You're good to go on shared.
All right. Can you see my screen here?
Exciting. Yes.
All right. Perfect. So, here, when you log into the app, the first thing that you'll notice is down here is your pipeline. This is your pipeline of checks that you've entered. One of the transformations you'll see over the next few months is that it'll be full claim consideration down here with all the payments in one file as opposed to each individual check. And the exciting part about that, especially for contractors, is we'll be automating depreciation requests and so on and so forth. For them once we have full claim consideration built out in the app. The other thing that we're going to be adding is a wallet feature. So this is going to start to look more like Venmo for restoration professionals.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, we'll be giving you some better insights as to what money's coming, what's available now, what's still or what's in approval. But right now you can sort through based on, what stakeholders need to do what. Do I have any homeowners that need to sign off on anything? Do I have any other professionals tied to the claim check that need to sign off on anything? Are there any mortgage companies that I'm waiting on funds back from? So you can filter through at the top here. You can search if you have a pretty large pipeline. You can search by claim number or homeowner name here.
I was going to say, can we add like a column there for the homeowner name? Because I know my client. I know my claims based on the homeowner's name, not on the claim number.
Yep. And
look at me. I'm telling you what to do here. I'm sorry. No,
it's all good. We listen. Any suggestion that anybody has, please let us know. It's the only reason we are where we are today is by taking everyone's suggestions. So we appreciate it. And certainly we've been battling back and forth about what information we can fit into what sections, because we know that contractors love to use address, right? They're like, I don't know who, the Johnson file is, but is it 1234 Main Street? Like, yep, that's the one.
That's how you talk to contractors. Need to know the address. That's the only way they know.
Yep. But the exciting thing is, again, this is the one place where everybody can communicate over the money. Most contractors and PAs and attorneys don't use the same CRMs, and they typically don't communicate with each other. So here, everyone can see what's going on with their money. They're all tied to it. It's in their dashboard. On the left-hand side, there's some very simple account controls. The manage user section is where you can invite other folks within your company to use the platform. But let me, and then of course, add your bank account information. You can update your account information. This will become more robust as time moves on, but pretty simple for now. And let me show you what it's like to upload a check. So I'm just going to click on Start New, and you'll see at the top here that you don't have to sign the check if you don't want. If the insured or anybody signs the back of it, it's not going to slow anything down or mess anything up, so don't worry. But we're going to get digital signatures that'll be applied later. And then all we need is your restrictive endorsement or the stamp on the back of the check that we send out to you so that it's deposited to Ink only. And then you're going to upload a picture, like Vince said, front and back. You can do this on your mobile phone, or you can do this on your on your laptop. We have a crop and rotate feature here, just in case you are taking a picture of it on your knee in your truck. And this is mobile friendly, so you'll also have the option to take a picture of the check right there on your phone. And so this is what it would look like with our stamp on the back. And then you'll put in the claim amount. We're working on some OCR technology right now that'll be reading the information off the check here soon, so you won't even have to put that in. But then you'll answer the question here, is there a mortgage company on the check? Let's just say yes. Have they stamped or signed it? Let's say no. Click submit. You'll see that we charge 1%, or like we said before, a cap of $150 per claim on processing this check in and out of the mortgage company.
Worth it. Well worth it.
You'll have the claim number. Yeah, because value of your time, right? And
of course,
not something you guys want to be dealing with. You'll upload the scope or the settlement letter and final release, whatever you have. We may ask for the contractor agreement later on in the process if the mortgage company requests it, but Again, we'll let you know if they need anything. You put a job number in here so it can correlate, and your records can correlate with your CRM or your QuickBooks. And then down here is the secret sauce that everybody loves. So let's just pretend for a second that I'm a public adjuster. So Ryan Admin is an adjusting company. I just helped my insured out for their hurricane claim. It just blew their roof off, but I'm only charging 10% on this one since it was a hurricane. And you can see here, signature requested, because my name would be on the check as the PA. So anyone who is a payee on the check, like a homeowner, they're going to be a signer on that check. So let's just say John Insured is on the check. You'll, of course, put in their email and phone. If for any reason you don't have the check, you can even check this box to send them a request to upload a picture, but you put the information in and you started the file. So that can be helpful inter-organizationally or if the insurance company sends the check to the insured instead. Yep, which happens a lot if there's no PA involved.
Yep.
And even with a PA involved, sometimes they forget. But
it happens.
But then you're going to add the mortgage company, right? So mortgage company is going to be on there. They're a signer. Doesn't matter who it is. Let's just say Carrington. That's a fan favorite. And then let's say that there is a contractor involved, but they're not listed on the check. So you're going to have a professional that's an approver, not a signer. And let's put Bob Contractor. Click Save. And you can even have, and Bob Contractor's getting 90% because they are doing the work. PA's getting 10%. And, even if you wanted to add, let's say, a professional that's view only, and it's Jason salesperson. So you want to keep them, just seeing what's going on. They don't sign off on anything. They're just viewing the transaction. So, you can do a lot of things here, but, and this is auto saving, by the way. So even if you get a call that's coming in and you're doing this on your phone or something pops up and you have to run, don't worry, it's saving. But when you click submit,
that's it.
That's it. And so it'll pop up in your dashboard. I'm not going to click submit just so I don't create any extra files in the system, but let me show you what it looks like. Actually, that's not actually here.
It's super cool, man. It's as soon as you click submit, it's like in the ether. And then there's a whole, that's right. Then there's the check by check, sort of like the progress of the check.
Yep. So this is kind of like the approval tree over here where, we verify the transaction and then the homeowner gets their request to sign off on everything. This will turn green when they do that. If they don't, you'll, of course, be able to sort that in your pipeline. Hey, which one of my insureds have not signed off? And you can even give them a nudge. You can go down here and you can resend the request.
Yeah, I've done that already.
We bug them every 24 hours, but you can do that as well. And then here's where we once they sign off on the transaction, we verify the monitoring with the mortgage company automatically. Everybody will sign off on the transaction. We give you the FedEx label for that check. And then as soon as it's scanned, we move the funds to your account if you've opted in for the advanced funding. If you haven't, we still have a pretty good turnaround time. It's generally right around 15 days or so. Right now, it's a little bit higher than normal, but I think it's because we have a lot of new users coming onto the system. We've started to learn that our regular users that are introducing us to their customers and their insureds ahead of time, and they're familiar with the process. The turnaround time is much shorter. It's usually 10, 12 days or so. And so the average across the board right now is 21 days in and out, but that is registering the check in the platform to when it's released from the mortgage company. So pretty quick, nonetheless. But
yeah, and I just want to make clear that that's $101 because there was a mortgage company in it. There's 21 days because there was a mortgage company on it. If there is not a mortgage company on there, it is free and you could have funds in your bank within 72 hours.
Yeah, it's 24 to 48 business hours. It's usually 24 unless you're with a smaller credit union or regional bank, but it's very fast. And then even with the mortgage company, the endorsement from them is what makes this full legal tender. So even though we've advanced you the funds, it's not all of the funds. There's a little bit of a holdback, but when that check comes back, we always request it goes back to your office or whoever initially uploaded the check. If for any reason the insured gets it because that's the mortgage company's policy is just to send it to them, that's fine, because we'll send them a link and let them know check's on its way back. Here you go. You can upload a picture of it to the platform. And once that occurs, if you've opted in for the advanced funding, it just repays that advanced funding and deposits the holdback into your account. Or if you just use the standard processing, then we would deposit those funds accordingly or split that payment how it needs to go. And there's a little place where you can upload that mortgage endorsement right here.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to show us?
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's only going to get better. And again, please, any suggestions, concerns, or feedback, we welcome it from everybody. It's the only reason we are where we are today is because of our customers and their suggestions. So thank you for all the feedback.
All right. If you could do a stop share there real quick. I still have a couple more questions. Indeed. What about a business owner like myself who I've got adjusters that I give a percentage of our percentage to? Or we could even say, I'm sure, I don't know how roofing contractors and stuff, but they've got sales guys that I'm assuming they give a percentage or something. I don't know, whatever it is. I know you don't have that feature now, but is that a feature that you guys are considering? Like for me, if we get a $10,000 check and we get $2,000 and I give the guy 50% and it's $1,000, I have to obviously write him a personal check, give it to him or mail it to him. You think that's a feature that you guys can add in the future?
100%. We're already, having conversations about what we're calling a waterfall payment, in so much as that, everyone on the front end, the payees, the stakeholders that are receiving the funds, like the professionals doing the work, they see that front end of the transaction. But how about the salespeople or the other PAs or the vendors or, the material suppliers who could also be paid automatically? We're having those discussions with them as well. And so the answer is a resounding yes. We want to take as much of the payment, I don't want to say problem.
Paper.
Yeah.
Paper.
Everything about it. We just, salesperson. Imagine if you're a salesperson that could get paid and you don't have to wait for the mortgage company, or same thing with a PA or any staff member that's tied to that claim that's getting a commission. We want to create that back-end waterfall payment as quickly as we can, and we're definitely going to be involving that here in the future.
No, it'd be great if I could have like all the guys, their bank account information in there, and it's just a click of a button and they get their percentage, boom, direct deposit into their bank account. Yep. Badass.
Yep. And it's one less thing for the business owner to manage, particularly with, their other AP. So,
listen, it's the one thing. I work from home. We run our entire organization from home. But the downside to that is, guess who has to handle all the home office stuff? Me.
You, my friend.
So I'm okay with uploading the mail because we get mail every day. That's okay. But I have to handle all the checks too. And it's just a pain. This is going to make my life so much easier.
Yeah, we don't want to, and of course,
because now I could have my admins do this, or now I could take the photo, upload it to the document, and they take care of the rest.
Yeah, and our goal as a company is to ultimately provide payment solutions and financial products to this industry, and this industry specifically. Contracting, public adjusting, just managing property claims in general is a little low tech. It's getting much better, but the automation isn't fully there yet. And we're excited to be able to provide just payment solutions and availability of capital and things of that nature to an industry that we feel is highly underserved. And a lot of that is just taking that administration off of their plate, but providing financial forecasts and insights into things that they may not have seen before or understood as a business owner. So we're solving a very real problem right now, but in the future, the value that we intend to bring is hopefully one that brings down the I would say the turnover rate that we see so much. And so our goal is to empower contractors, empower restoration professionals, and get those insureds back to normal as quickly as possible.
You said straight from the carrier. I wrote it down. Is that something you guys are working on?
Yeah.
So I won't even have to get the check in the mail anymore? It doesn't even have to come here anymore?
That's right. So we, thinking forward to what happens when there is no check and, there's no more check exchange. Right now, even with there being a check, you can upload it to our platform and skip out on the check exchange. But in the future, the verifications will happen, before the claim is approved on our platform. And once that claim is approved, the money just goes where it needs to go. And, you get paid as the professional, the contractor gets started, and we've provided digitally all the information to the mortgage company that they need in order to know that their butts were covered. So it's just a better mousetrap than what we have available today. And the carriers are also excited for this capability because they have a lot of the same challenges that we have, believe it or not. So that's what we're learning. And we really want to again, be the four legs of this table that is involved.
Checks get lost in the mail. Checks expire. Wrong mortgage company.
Yep.
That's just the top three things that always require, hey, we need to get this check reissued. And then you know how that is with the carrier. That's another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Everything takes so long. So yeah, if you could cut that out, man, and have the relationships with the carrier, God, that would make our life so much easier.
Yeah. And believe it or not, for them as well. So
right.
We've been told, I won't say by who, but it was a top 10.
Ooh.
They said, you guys don't solve one of our problems. You solve our top 5. And this is, something I think for them that was so important. They said normally the sales cycle and integration cycle with our company is 2 years. We want this started in 6 months.
Nice.
So we're getting there. Very excited for the opportunity and the I guess the motivation of this industry to solve this problem, because across the board it's a real bear. And we want everybody to have a better payment experience when it comes to their property claims.
No, I'm sure you don't want to jinx it or anything, but obviously you could see that you're solving one of the biggest problems in our industry. So the future is bright, Ryan. Now, what I like about you is you're a visionary, Ryan. You and the CEO and everybody's involved. Obviously, you guys put this vision together, because my thing is always, anytime I'm thinking of a new idea or something, it's always how to digitize it. Everything is always, and you've managed to take something that, frankly, I don't know if I could have thought about this one to take but it's something that I thought about. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Nobody writes checks anymore. Why are we doing this? How can we solve this problem? You guys have managed to do it. And I could only imagine how much better it's going to get. I've got one more question. The question everybody is wondering, that everybody wants to know, and everybody wants to know, why iink? Why iink Payments? How'd you come up with the name?
So the first name that we came up with was taken. There was an issue with a trademark, and I'm actually happy that happened, because I think ink is just so much better. 2 eyes, because one was already taken, of course, but it was kind of a play on an octopus, believe it or not. And
that's why I love to ask this question, because there's always a story behind the name of a company.
There's an octopus is one of the smartest animals on the planet. They can do multiple things at once. And if you look at our logo, it's even reminiscent of a tentacle, right? And so that's how iink was born. We were, I remember our other co-founder, Ryan Wetzel, our current chief operating officer, and at the time he was our CTO, because he knew enough about the technology, but not enough to be dangerous, as we like to say, to help get us off the ground. But Ryan and I were sitting on the couch just trying to come up with a better name. Took a couple of days, and I was just like, how about iink? And we thought about it, and here we are today. So, and also it's kind of cool that we're, working to eliminate that ink from the payment, right? For
sure. Ink and it's payment. Quick, it's short, to the point. I think it's beautiful. Well, for those who are still listening, Ryan and iink will actually be at the Tampa meetup. I'm very excited to have them there. That's going to be a sick event because we've got Dmitry Lipinski, who's got over 50,000. He's like the influencer in the roofing industry. Awesome. So he's flying from Minnesota just to come and be a guest. And we've got some more sponsors too. Do you know the girls at Black Diamond Housing?
We have met, yes. So
yeah, another phenomenal service. I mean, what they're able to do is basically take that entire process of additional living expenses. They get them a home, they get them a place they could put their pets, they get them a trailer that they could put on site at their home. Like, it's amazing what they do. We've got a good friend of mine, Juan. He does actually home remodeling. And who else? We got Grant is going to be an attorney. He's the attorney who's going to be sponsoring there. We've got all kinds of companies, but I'm really excited to have you there because I really believe in your product. I think it's definitely going to be the future. I could see, frankly, most, if not every public adjusting firm switching to your platform, and hopefully I could help with that. And frankly, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we end this thing?
Just thank you so much for your support, Vince, and for all the listeners out there. If you have any questions or concerns, suggestions, anything for me or my team, please let us know. The support, like I said, has been just overwhelming from this industry. And I know I'm a broken record saying it, but we wouldn't be where we are today without you, without this amazing team that we have here at iink. And just thanks again for the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Rayn. I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Thank you.